cool little Zoom meeting. I'm Jim, and I'm a pilot. I also have a YouTube channel, which is pretty interesting, and I'm interviewing Kris Steinnes, and she is the founder of Women of Wisdom. And we had some interesting times. We've gone to Africa together in a large group, and in this time of the COVID-19, everybody's sitting around computers and looking at what to do at home. And Kris decided she wanted to discuss Women of Wisdom and what she's doing with her life, and it's an interesting thing to do. So how did you start Women of Wisdom anyway?
Well, it was a vision when I was going to Seattle Unity Church back in 1992. I read a book called The Feminine Face of God, and it was stories of women from different spiritual backgrounds. And Unity at the time had a big speaker program. Everybody went there Wednesday nights to hear people, and it just came to me one night driving down our main, Aurora, our old highway, and it came to me to bring women like from this book to Unity with the speaker program, bring them to Seattle. And then immediately the voice came in and said, no, do a week-long conference for women to build community. And so that's what happened. I got some women together and formed a committee, and we planned a conference. And the first night I stood up, introduced, welcoming people, and I said, welcome to the first annual, which, just came into me, and I was like, oh, okay.
Meeting, but you said it was the first meeting, but you said it was the first annual, which was correct.
Yeah, it was the first annual, and now we just had our 28th conference, and we were so lucky we had it mid-February before we all couldn't go anywhere. There wasn't a threat of the coronavirus, and everybody was healthy, and 2 weeks later we would have had a big problem. So it was fortunate. It was very fortunate we were able to gather together, and because it's just really important for women to be together in community and support each other, witness each other, hear their stories, and that's what happens. We do a lot of very experiential workshops at the conference, and have many workshop leaders and presenters that. So yeah, it used to be the first 12 years. It was 9 days long. So it was quite an immersion into the divine feminine. And now it's an easy 2-day, one night plus 2 days. It's a lot easier to plan. So over the years, we've kind of reduced it down to 5 days, to 4.5 days, to 2 days. Every once in a while we'll do Friday night too. But we still do the same thing, bring women together and share our stories and heal, and in a lot of different areas in our life, and it supports women's dreams of what they want to do in their life, and just being witness and sharing your stories is so empowering for women.
Well, how do you find women now? How do you gather women to go to Women of Wisdom workshops, basically?
Well, it's kind of word of mouth. The word just gets out. It's kind of word of mouth. Like people who've gone, they go, you got to go, or they've heard it. I mean, we advertise or a lot. Of course, there's a lot on Facebook and put things around town, and so people find out about it. And a lot of people, they've heard about it, and I haven't been able to make it yet, and they're sure I'm going to go, or they hear about from friends. Best advertising is word of mouth, because right. It is, it's a very engaging, very empowering event to be at for women, and when people come, they realize that. And there's so much going on in Seattle that it's sometimes it's hard to get airtime, for people to find us. But when they do, they love it. So
it's super empowering, I'm sure.
Yes, yeah, it is. And it's changed women's lives. I mean, a lot of times, many women have changed their careers, have left a bad relationship, have changed their names. They've done, because they've been given permission, because they've been witnessed, and so people share their stories, and just hearing other women's stories helps empower themselves. Like, oh, we often feel very isolated and alone in what we're going through. And when we hear other women sharing their stories and what's going on with their life, we realize, oh, I've been feeling that too. I'm not alone. And it gives you permission to share your story. And once you've shared your story, there's a healing that happens when you're able to speak your fears, to speak up of what your dreams have been that you haven't been able to do yet. And
Right.
so a lot of times people leave the conference, determined like, okay, I'm going to do this now for myself. This is what I'm supposed to do in my life.
That's interesting. We did, just to interject real quickly, back when I was in my 20s, my parents, my dad's a minister, obviously, or not obviously, but he is a minister, and he's passed away now. But my mom is still alive, and she's 93 and a super empowered women. But they sent, we all went to a workshop. It was called Insight down in Miami, Florida. And I think it's still going today. That's an empowering workshop also. But I understand exactly what you're saying, because when you express yourself amongst other people, it does empower you personally, for sure, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I also have the book Woman of Wisdom, and it has many of the talks. I transcribed the talks with some very powerful women that have come through, nationally known authors like Jean Houston, Jean Shinoda Boland, Marion Woodman, women who have written books based on the divine feminine or women's empowerment or whatever it is. And anyway, so there's many of our great talks, and then stories from women who've been a part of the conference or we're part of the creative team, and then poetry and art from people that are part of our community. So it's a very well-rounded book of all the diverse ways the feminine can be expressed. And so that book is also it's also an ebook, so it's available on Amazon, and it's a hardcover book, not hardcover, softcover, but a physical book. And some people, I like to read a physical book still. And we also have a Woman of Wisdom CD with some of our great musicians that we've had come through the conference. Some really fabulous, Holly Near, Libby Roderick, Chris Williamson, well-known women's, done women's music for decades. And then in the last 7 years, I've been doing a radio show called Voices of Women. And I've interviewed many of the authors that have come through Women of Wisdom, but other authors, I get notices from publishers who, they want to get their authors out there, and if it's a topic suitable for my audience of around women's empowerment or women's healing or women's spirituality, I'll interview on my radio show called Voices of Women, and it's on Blog Talk Radio. So also there's a whole archive of 7 years on the Dr. Pat Show. I think you can still find them there. And actually, we got talking about doing this because I shared with you I had something that came up for me last week or the week before, going through what we're going through now with isolation and staying at home, is interviewing women, not just authors, but my friends and women that have been part of my spiritual communities or just everyday women, of what's going on in their life right now, what they're doing to survive this stay at home. What are they doing in their life? Are they reflecting of what, envisioning what's going to happen after this when we come out of this? How are they going to change? How do they see themselves changing? How do they see the world changing? How do they see our culture changing? I think it's fascinating because I think there is an energy that we're all kind of hopeful that there will be some changes, because we're definitely in a change now. I mean, look, we have to communicate right now by Zoom, you and I, or by phone.
Right.
And I'm doing now several. I have happy hour Zooms with friends, and I've already, before I had meetings with Zoom, but our church service is on a Facebook Live, and we have chats on Zoom with the Amazing Grace Spiritual Center that your mother and I go to. And so we have a Wednesday night chat so we can connect with people. We're still, the importance of connection, so that we're not, because otherwise what are we doing? We're watching the news a lot, and we just go into a lot of fear. And so that we, just connecting with other people is so important to keep ourselves grounded and centered, and to not be overwhelmed with the fear, to not indulge too much with the fear, to realize we can be as safe as we can be. I mean, we don't know if we're going to come down with this horrible disease, and we hear is not just older people. There are 20% of people in the hospitals are like 20 to 40-year-olds, so it's impacting everybody. And we all may have known people who have already passed away or who are sick and got it. And so it's just a lot of fear. Now, I live with somebody, my husband has immune suppression because he had a kidney transplant, so we can't go anywhere. It's too risky. We have, luckily before it really got to the order of stay at home, we had gone grocery shopping and went to Costco and stocked up on things that we could freeze. And we have a neighbor who'll go out and get us produce, but just once a week. We're really limiting it, and so we're doing fine. But I don't dare go to the store. I mean, I just don't trust. Even if I wear a mask and gloves, it kind of brings up fear, and I have to go, oh wait, I'm not doing that for myself out of fear, staying away. I'm doing it out of love. I'm doing it out of love for myself, for my house. I don't want to bring this into my house. I don't want to impact my husband. It's totally out of love that I do this, that we don't go to the store. We don't go to anybody's home. We do take walks, and I work in my garden. And some of the things I've heard from other people, the importance of having a structure at this time. And actually our structure is not our usual structure. Like we sleep in, I go get my tea, I read in bed for a while, I look at the news on my I can't help it. On my phone, I scroll through and read, but I want to be updated, but, it's kind of very repetitive now, and how much new is there, but it is important to be, I think, informed, but to not get to overindulge in it because that can just put you into fear. I mean, there's so many ramifications when I start reading things and going, oh my goodness, how it's impacting on so many different levels. And that can bring up fear. And I have to go, no, wait a minute, ground center, we will get through this.
Yeah. Recenter
We
yourself.
don't know when. It's the unknown. We don't know when.
Yeah, that's kind of the big unknown, is you don't know when. And actually, by watching the news, they don't really help you know when. And even if they did know when, it feels like they're not telling you when.
Well, and nobody knows it. And when they decide it's safe, because the curve has gone down, and we're lucky in Washington State, curve has gone down, and we're not as bad as New York City and other places. But that's because people are staying at home and doing their due diligence to protect everybody. But that doesn't mean there's still people coming down, with getting sick. And I felt from the beginning it's kind of unrealistic even when the governor first came out and said April 30th. To me, in my mind, it's going to be May. I've heard people who are medical. I have a friend, somebody I know who's Ayurvedic and talks to a lot of medical people and organizations, and they're saying May, June, and reality is we don't know how far to go into the summer. Because just because if we can go back to work, and it's May 4th in Washington State, but they keep extending it. But we go back to work May 4th, the virus is not gone. So yeah. I'm still going to be staying at home because I have a person who has an immune suppression issue.
And I'm doing the same thing because of my mom. My mom is 93.
Yeah.
And
yeah,
so I don't want to infect her.
Right. So who knows when it'll really feel safe. And then they talk about whether there could be a resurgent in the fall, because it's fall flu season and all that. And so it does make you feel very on guard, like, oh, okay, when is this, and this may be life as it is for a while.
It might be. It feels actually, I'm getting more accustomed to it. The roads are less dense, obviously, and it's actually a nicer world, not being so crowded. And not being so crowded in Seattle, you actually feel like you can center yourself into your own mind, body, and soul, and home now, without the fear of like, I'm not going to get enough here. And that's always been the fear of the stock market rise for a lot of people. It's like it's rising, you're missing. It's like there's not that feeling for me personally anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So that feels
good. And then I say it's so quiet. Like I live a block from not a major street, but it's a busy street. And it's so quiet because there's so few people driving. And I read somewhere that the fact that it's so quiet, that they're able to do seismic readings of the earth a lot easier, where they used to have to get it deeper down the earth. They can actually read it on the surface because it's so quiet and there's less air pollution. And, and I wonder if we're just all going to go back to driving the way we've always driven, go everywhere and be as busy, or if something will change with it.
Yeah, I don't know. It feels like maybe it's hard to say.
Yeah, we don't.
I kind of hope that it stays a little bit like this. Just the calmness feels kind of nice.
Yeah, and it's changed. Like we've had to take our cat to the vet. She had 2 weeks ago an eye removed, and so when we drove 2 weeks ago, it felt like driving in Seattle like 20 years ago. No rush hour traffic. Everything was smooth, but there was cars on the road. But you could get somewhere in 20 minutes. And then when we went back to take her stitches out this last Friday, it was like, felt like a quarter of that number of people from 2 weeks before, you know, so it's just like so little people on the roads. And it's kind of nice because we have pretty bad traffic here in Seattle. And will it go back to being what it's always been? Well, you know, and I think people might connect more. Everybody's doing so much Zoom, we might connect more with people. Um, I'm thinking
Well,
because
it's a great medium.
yeah, you can, yeah, and I'm at home a lot, and so even in my own personal life before this, I wasn't like I rushed out and did a lot of things with people and this and that, you know, all the time, but I had a choice to, you know, so I could set things up. And now there's not a choice, but there's a choice to connect on Zoom, and it's so nice to see people in person versus
It
just
is.
on the phone. And I'm not a great phone talker myself, so the Zoom thing has been wonderful.
Well, what's the direction that you want to go forward with, like with Women of Wisdom, and how are you going to go forward with that as far as like interviews and stuff?
Well, I'm going to start setting up interviews with people. I'm starting one on Wednesday, and I'm going to be contacting a lot of people I know to do these interviews, just to check in with people of what they're doing now and how they see things coming about, how things are going to change for them, what they would like to change in their lives once we can go back to being normal. What will be the new normal? And as far as Women of Wisdom, I'm actually doing a support call for Women of Wisdom. It's on our Facebook page. We have a Facebook page, Women of Wisdom. I think it's called Women Wisdom Conference, but you can find it if you search Women of Wisdom. And also we have a Women of Wisdom conversation, a group. It's private, but women can join in and they can post what they're doing. But I've been posting, I'm doing 2 Zoom calls to connect and lead meditations with people in our community on Mondays and Thursdays. And so that's an opportunity just for us to connect as a community of anybody who needs to, because you know, a lot of women are really isolated, and I'm thinking of people who are, you know, yeah, I live with someone, but some people are all alone, living alone, and what that would be like to be alone and not, you're supposed to stay home and not I think some people are doing some safe meetings. Like I have a friend who lives alone, and she'll maybe get together with 2 people and they go for a walk, but they're 6 or be at a park like 6, 10, 20 feet apart. But you know, so they're making a connection. But you know, the thing is, I don't know what happened to Women of Wisdom, because we don't know what a year from now will be like. You know, will we have a in-person conference next February?
Right.
We won't know
Yeah.
till we don't launch that till November. So hopefully by November we'll know that. But if there's still uncertainty, you know, we may have to create new ways to meeting online. Of, you know, and there are a lot of people do webinars and things, but that ours has been very important to be in person.
Well, I think also there's going to be a big need for women to reinvent their lives because of the devastation of the economy too. And
Yeah,
women and men and families,
yeah,
because businesses are going to suffer and they're going to go out of business, because how do you stay in business when you're out of business for 2 months and you can't afford the rent and it's hard to buy food? So
yeah.
there will be a lot of reinvention happening, I think.
Yeah, yeah, and a lot of women I know in Women of Wisdom, they're entrepreneurs. They're kind of, they might be self-employed, they might be healers, or they're herbalists, or they, you know, they're coaches, and they may not even be doing it full time. But all that kind of work is gone for them now. You know, unless they've found a way, and some are finding a way they do it online. So there's been a real switch to, and there's a lot of things out there. I see the emails of people, okay, you know, now's the time to getting it set up now for going forward when we can, but also, you know, to make your business plans. And I kind of have a reaction to that. I kind of go, oh, you know, here's this big marketing push to, you know, okay, buy my program so you'll get set up, and, you know, how to set up business for yourself. And, but to really go inside yourself to what do you want to do, and how can you do this? How can you do it online? How can you continue business, adapt it to this new way where it's not in person? And so, you know, I'm thinking of a massage person. How can,
Right.
you know, physical therapy, those kinds of people, it's impossible probably to work. Although there is one-on-one, and maybe they're creating
Yeah, it's tough. It would be,
a safe, but I
but
just
then
feel,
again, people need to have money to pay for these kind of services, and money's
yeah,
getting really tight for a lot of people.
Right, right. And it has to be done safely. And I imagine there is just like going to a doctor's office, a massage person could be safe, but you never know. Like as a client, I got to feel safe if I'm going to go to someone's home or someplace to have a massage, that I'm not going to pick up something because
I,
I have a risk at home.
I went to my FAA medical doctor to get my uh, medical certificate renewed today, and he was wearing a mask. And I called him prior to going there, and I said, "You don't mind if I wear my PPE stuff?" He said, "I would appreciate it if you would." And so we were both in our
Yeah,
masks, and I had my gloves on, and
yeah.
it felt safe, but you just don't know in this
Right.
day.
And yeah, in a medical place, probably, my husband had to have a little minor surgery with having a kidney transplant. With his medicines, he's at risk of cancer. So he sees a skin specialist twice a year. And he often has a little basal cell sarcoma. And he had one. So the doctor, it was scheduled for last week. And they called and said, yeah, we're going to do it still. And so he planned it. He had a mask and gloves, and he was and the way they managed it is it was it was very one-on-one and at a distance of checking in and being sent to a room, and then so it was done very safely. And the other thing he was going to do was as soon as he got in the house, he was going to take all his clothes off, put it in a box, and it would be washed, and he would run upstairs and take a shower. So his doctor has fun conversation with, has a good sense of humor, and he said, no, I think you should take your clothes off in the car and run to the house naked.
That's what I did after I got back from my medical exam. I put all my clothes in the parking lot. I changed my clothes in the parking lot, put it in the garbage bag, got new clothes on, drove home, took all my clothes off, took a shower again, changed clothes again.
Oh, so you did double. We didn't think about that, but it's all good. But it was it was a little nervous. I was a little nervous about it. So we had I just was asking him, "Hey, what are you going to do about this?" Because you just don't know when you might be. It's just kind of weird. It's so unknown of where you can catch it.
Yeah. Well, it's in this day and age, during this COVID-19, it has brought people's brains focusing more on safety and on community, really. I mean, that's what I think you're doing with Women of Wisdom. It's allowing women to express themselves better, obviously, right? I mean, they can do it with you online now on Zoom, and you can interview online, and
Yeah.
people can
Yeah.
learn about themselves through other people.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah. Well, that's probably all that I need to share right now.
Well, we can do it again at some point if you'd like to, and I really appreciate it. Nice, it's great to visit with you again.
Yeah, yeah. And just for the audience, Jim and I went with your 93-year-old mother and your wife, we went to Kenya. And that was such a joy to be with you and your family for that. And we were going to go again this September, and that is on hold. So we built a school there. There's a woman that I know through Women of Wisdom. And then I'm also part of Amazing Grace Global Service Team. We've gone to Cambodia 4 times, and we just went in January. Just before all this happened, we were able to go. And but our September trip to Kenya is canceled, of course, and we don't know when we'll be able to go.
Have you heard anything about Kenya, by the way? Is the school, I mean, with the COVID-19 is going through
The
Kenya?
students are not going to school, but they're off school in April, but they did not, I'm not sure when. I know the government closed schools down and they have a stay-at-home rule, and they don't have as many cases of COVID-19. They closed their borders. Anybody coming from a country that has cases of COVID-19 were not allowed to come, the planes weren't allowed to come in from those countries. And so they closed their border pretty early on. But, it's in Africa. It really makes me nervous to think of it in Africa, because with the poverty there, where the school is, it's very poor, and they're not, you can tell the kids are not of great health. And and then in Nairobi, it's such a crowded city, and you have the Kibera slums, and people so jam-packed in that city. It's so crowded. So they had to stay at home. I mean, Mary was, she's in her home by herself, and the teachers were, she told me the teachers were still at school, but the kids were at home. So they were not going to school. I don't know when. It's maybe beginning of March or maybe 3 weeks ago. I'm not sure how long. So I don't know what will happen for them. They go to school 3 months and a month off, so they have April off anyway. So I don't know what will happen in May for them.
Well, we certainly do hope and pray for them, and
Yeah,
it's a tough time, but we'll work through it.
that's
And
right.
what you're doing is absolutely fantastic.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks so much, Jim, for having me on your
Okay.
YouTube.
All right, Kris. Great to talk to you.
You too.